international trade is a complicated one. It is not a simple model to explain how does the trade happen. The international trade may not happen as visualized by the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem. Uh, so the most of the trade theories explain the trade that takes place under the constant cost condition. But this constant cost condition has been challenged by many of the economists later. So let's look into the details. Welcome you all to the new video. Our today's topic is economies of scale and international trade. So how does economies of scale drive international trade? How does economies of scale affect international trade? The trade theories, especially Heckscher-Ohlin theory of international trade, assumed constant returns to scale in both nations. It is one of the assumptions of the Heckscher-Ohlin theory, but this may not be the case. As we know, in the current day trade situation, the production could happen in increasing returns to scale. So increasing returns to scale may drive international trade, unlike the arguments of Heckscher-Ohlin theory. So this was not explained by the Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Heckscher-Ohlin theory neglected the possibility of increasing returns to scale, and Heckscher-Ohlin theory is based on the assumption of constant returns to scale in both nations. But later studies, many of the economists later have confirmed the possibility, the prevalence of economies of scale that could drive international trade. So what is economies of scale? Economies of scale refers to the increasing returns to scale as against the constant or diminishing returns to scale. So this is the situation where the output grows more than proportionately than the inputs. This is increasing returns to scale, and this is the situation in which the average cost falls as production increases. So this is the benefit of large scale production, large scale operation. So the huge companies may enjoy the benefit of economies of scale. So the huge industries of the nations could enjoy the economies of scale. So economies of scale help to influence the international trade. So in short, economies of scale is the advantage of large scale operation, large scale industries in a nation. That means economies of scale could drive the international trade. Economies of scale in a nation will affect the international trade. So to speak, if a nation has got the economies of scale on certain industries, the nation can specialize on that industry, and that they can export maximum of that commodity. So this is the result of economies of scale, not by mere factor endowment differences. It is the economies of scale in on certain industries that the nation is enjoying. So the international trade could be influenced by the prevalence of economies of scale in certain industries. Let's look how does the gainful trade will happen between two nations on the basis of economies of scale. Just like the other trade theories, here also we have two nations and two commodities. Here we have two nations, nation 1 and nation 2, and two commodities as well, commodity X and commodity Y. The commodity Y is measured along horizontal axis, and commodity Y is measured along vertical axis. So before international trade could take place, both nations produce both commodities. That means nation 1 produces commodity a part of 40 units of commodity X and 40 units of commodity Y. So as the nation 2. Nation 2 also produces this much of quantity of commodity X and commodity Y. So the equilibrium before international trade is A, in which the lower indifference curve 1 is tangent to the production possibility curve, the convex production possibility curve. That is the production possibility curve before international trade or without international trade. So this is convex production possibility frontier, PPF, as the nation, one nation has got more advantage on one commodity than the other, than another commodity. For example, when one nation is cutting down the production of commodity Y, they are able to produce more of X. So they have, one country has got the advantage on commodity X and another country has got the advantage on commodity Y. That is why the production possibility frontier is convex without international trade. So before international trade could takes place, the equilibrium is at point A, where both countries produce 40 units of commodity X and 40 units of commodity Y. So that is the level of equilibrium before international trade. So let's imagine international trade is taking place on the basis of the difference in economies of scale, not by the factor endowment as argued by the Heckscher-Ohlin theory. The trade happens on the basis of economies of scale. Let's look how does it work. So international trade, imagine suppose international trade is taking place here. So what will happen? There will be the complete specialization, unlike the argument of Heckscher-Ohlin theory, but just like the arguments of the classical trade theory, there will be suppose there is 100% specialization. That means the nation 1 specializes completely in producing commodity X, so they will produce 120 of X, that is at point B. You can see on the diagram at point B where the production possibility frontier after international trade, so that is one end of the production possibility frontier, that is B, that is in the right side of the horizontal axis. You can see at point B, nation 1 produces 120 units of X. At the same time, nation 2 produces specializes completely in producing commodity Y. So that means nation 2 produces 120 units of Y. This is complete specialization after international trade. So then how does the what is the gain here for both nations, nation 1 and nation 2, because of international trade? The mutual trade is possible here. That means the excess production of commodity, excess production by nation 1 will be exported to nation 2. Similarly, the excess production of nation 2 will be exported to nation 1. This is the mutual international trade. So then let's look how what is the gain for both nations because of international trade. So with international trade, their equilibrium will be upgraded to the second indifference curve, which is tangent to the production possibility frontier after the international trade. That is a straight line that is at point E. So the both nations are equilibrium at point E, where both nations consume 60 units of commodity X and 60 units of commodity Y. So but the entire commodity they are consuming are not produced by the nations itself. The only one commodity is produced by one nation after trade, and another commodity is produced by another nation. That means commodity X is produced completely by nation 1, commodity Y is produced completely by nation 2. But so out of the total 120 units of commodity X, 60 units of commodity X will be exported to nation 2. Remind you, half of the production will be exported by nation 1. Similarly, out of 120 units of commodity Y, nation 2 Nation 2 is a nation which specializes completely in commodity Y. So out of total 120 units of commodity Y, 60 units of commodity will be exported to nation 1. This is the mutual international trade. So both nations domestically consume 60 units of both commodities, 60 units of commodity X and 60 units of commodity Y after international trade. Remind you what was the case before international trade. So before international trade, at point A, where the equilibrium is at point A, what was the situation? Both nations consume just 40 units of commodity X and commodity Y. But after international trade, without any extra cost, both nations are able to consume more than 20 units of X and Y more. That means the gain of trade for both nations are 20X and 20Y. That means before international trade, the level of consumption in both nations was 40 units of X and 40 units of Y. But after international trade, what was the situation? What was the level of consumption and consumption? It was 60 units of Y and 60 units of X in both nations. This is not due to the due to both nations produce both commodities. This is just due to international trade. One country specializes on one commodity on which that nation has got the economies of scale, and another nation specializes on another commodity on which that nation has got the economies of scale. So economies of scale refers to increasing returns to scale. So increasing returns to scale also means decreasing average cost as production is expanding. As production is increasing, average cost is coming down. This is the economies of scale. So this is the driving force of international trade, according to many economists, and unlike the Heckscher-Ohlin theory of international trade. So after international trade, a higher level of equilibrium is possible, that is at point E, in which the second indifference curve, that is higher level of indifference curve, is tangent to the production possibility frontier after international trade. That is a straight line, as the level of consumption and production is the benefit of both level of consumption and production is equal in both nations, and it is also assumed that both nations are identical here.